You might have seen that recently ICE has been freaking out about people filming them. You There was this viral video earlier this week of this woman who basically tried to film an ICE agent and was quickly told that we have a nice little database and now you're considered a domestic terrorist. Essentially, all this woman was doing was filming ICE, which is completely legal. Um, and yet, they're harassing everybody that tries to film them. So the Department of Homeland Security has ordered immigration officers to gather identifying information about anyone filming them and to send that information to Intel that will do a workup on them, a federal law enforcement official told Ken Klippenstein. Basically, a workup means trying to identify them through social media, running their license plates, running a criminal history check, etc. This directive is part of a sweeping nationwide effort by U.S. immigration to identify anyone trying to film ICE's conduct. This is not just ICE, but any other Department of Homeland Security agencies like Border Patrol as well. The ultimate goal is to create a list of anti-ICE protesters, which the Trump administration believes are part of an organized network of domestic terrorists. So one ICE agent in Maine publicly hinted at the effort in an exchange on Friday that was captured on video. I'm going to see if I can play this video.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
I just want to watch that one more time. Listen again to how smug this ICE agent is.
It's not illegal to record.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
So first of all, I think it's so crazy because these men are allowed to wear these neck gaiters that continually obscure their identities. They're allowed to remain anonymous while people filming them are not allowed to remain anonymous and are, surveilled and scanned and put into these facial recognition databases. This is yet another reason that people should be wearing. I mean, this guy's wearing face covering, not a mask, but wear sunglasses. Sunglasses are actually better than masks at hiding your identity. Wear masks. Be careful when you're doing this type of stuff because you don't want to get surveilled. But it's so scary to think that essentially there is this aggressive crackdown. And if you notice in the beginning of that video, he's like, they're talking about like filming, and he says that's exactly what we're doing because he's also filming. If you watch the video of Renee Good when she's murdered, you'll note, and I have a whole video on this, that actually the ICE agent himself, and this video was later released, making him look terrible, has a camera in his hand. He is actually filming the whole interaction himself. And this is something that ICE is actually encouraged to do. I have a whole video on this that I'm going to pull up in a second, just talking about kind of ICE's media strategy. Here, oops. So if you go to my main channel and you go under, I think it's under my Free Speech Friday series, but so if you go to my main channel, this video, why ICE is always filming, I actually interviewed this journalist, Drew Harwell, my former colleague at the Washington Post, and he talks about ICE's media strategy and why ICE is constantly filming. Because if you note, again, they've always got a phone in their hand. In some cases, they have entire vlogging rigs to film people. So ICE is constantly recording, and the issue is that they want to retain footage that makes themselves look good. So they want to retain footage that makes themselves seem like, they're these brave people cracking down, that they're doing all this good work, that they never do anything wrong, and basically only use it to vindicate their officers. If you film content, they don't have control over that narrative. They don't have control over that footage. They can't deceptively edit that footage effectively to promote ICE. And so they don't want that. So they do actually want a massive amount of footage recorded. They just only want ICE agents to be able to record and produce that footage. So I just think that is hilariously, or not even hilariously, bleakly, I guess, like hypocritical at the same time that ICE is saying you're not allowed to film at all. No one's filming more than ICE themselves. Um, but anyway, back to Ken's article, which was, where was it? Oh, here it is. So this remark, as Ken notes, he's not just trolling. According to Ken's sources at the DHS and this director at the Cato Institute, which is a libertarian think tank, they published a report last month pulling together reams of incidents. Oops. Can you guys hear me? Oh, what did I do? Okay, yeah. They issued this report pulling together tons of incidents of ones just like this, where they basically have this systematic policy of threatening people who follow ICE to record their activities. This is very well documented. Again, this is the Cato Institute. They're hardcore libertarians. They do not like the government, but they do. It's like libertarians are good on some stuff, including police, and this shows that they label ICE observers, which is what these people are. They are legally observing ICE as domestic terrorists. So they're not doing anything. They have the right to film people, but Kristi Noem told reporters in July that actually just filming ICE is violence and doxing, which is not doxing. It's not doxing to record someone in public. But also she threatened to prosecute people who illegally harass ICE agents, which in this case, again, is just filming them. So here is an example of, here's actually Ken talking about exactly the stuff that I was just talking about, which is that ICE films arrests to both feed the DHS social media blitz and to identify people. They upload this information into their databases to see if they have outstanding warrants or are here illegally. So if you make the mistake of filming ICE and you have an old traffic ticket, or you have an unpaid fine, or God forbid there's a warrant for your arrest, or your immigration status is in jeopardy, they're going to put you into this database. They're going to label you a domestic terrorist, and you'll potentially suffer the consequences of that. Again, just for exercising your First Amendment rights. And I think what's so scary is that no one is speaking out against this on the right. All these people who said, free speech, they have absolutely nothing to say about any of this. And I think it's so appalling because here is just, this is the most classic First Amendment activity, recording the police. And yet, they're not allowed to do that. So anyway, back to sort of the second part of that first video that we watched where he says, we have a nice little database for you. We have a nice little database and now you're considered a domestic terrorist. It's pretty scary because ICE's facial recognition app, which they use to scan people's faces and put into this database, misidentifies people. It's bad. It's an AI app that doesn't actually work very well. In testimony from a Customs and Border Patrol agent, here, I'm going to pull this up, obtained by 404 Media. Oops. Oh. Hold on, let me move it over so you guys can read it. Here. The official described how Mobile Fortify, which is the app that they use to actually scan people's faces, during an immigration raid, returned two different names. They said that ICE has said that the app's results are a definitive determination of someone's immigration status. Clearly, it's not a definitive determination because you can't even tell who they don't even know who they're scanning. So sorry, for some reason, it's not letting me sign into 404, even though I swear to God, I do have an account. But I'll just sort of go through the beginning part of the story, which is you get the headline, it says it all. But when authorities used ICE's facial recognition app on a detained woman in an attempt to learn her identity and immigration status, it returned two different and incorrect names, as in it misidentified this woman twice. Raising serious concerns. ICE has told lawmakers that the app is definitive. The incident happened in Oregon last year, cast doubt on that claim. So I think this is even more scary because ICE can be, if you go out to film ICE and they film you back or they scan your face and try to put you into this database, label you a domestic terrorist, that AI could misidentify you. Somebody that doesn't even go to film ICE can be misidentified and attacked. And so I just think this is so incredibly dangerous and dystopian and bad, um, and concerning. So, yeah. On top of that, say you are going to fly a drone because you don't want to film them yourself, which is something people have been doing to kind of try to get around these laws, where, they're like, okay, well, so I don't want to show up to physically film ICE because it's too dangerous. I'm going to send my little drone to go film them. Well, now you can't do that either because the federal government is trying to create basically drone no-fly zones that would stop people from filming ICE. So the FAA has already altered a no-fly zone designation that was originally created for military bases to apply to Department of Homeland Security units. 404 says the FAA put a drone no-fly zone within 3,000 feet of DHS security facilities and mobile assets, as in mobile, out sort of mobile ICE teams, according to airmen posted by the government. The no-fly zone is the same type that the U.S. uses to restrict consumer drones over military bases. The order appears to attempt to criminalize the use of drones to film immigration and customs enforcement and DHS employees who are detaining people all over the country. This order is particularly notable because it does not just apply to static locations like DHS offices, but also to vessels and ground vehicle convoys and their associated escorts. The notice classifies within 3,000 feet horizontally and up to 1,000 feet of altitude as no-fly zones and as national defense airspace, which is skies up to half a mile from ICE vehicles in Minneapolis, for example, could fall under this new jurisdiction. The notice states that people who violate the restrictions can be charged criminally, could face civil penalties, and may lose their authority to fly drones in the future. In addition, drone operators who are deemed to pose a credible safety or security threat to protected personnel, facilities, assets may be mitigated, noting that mitigation may result in interference, interception, seizure, damaging, or destruction of unmanned aircrafts. Basically, they can take the drone down. So with the rise of cheap consumer drones, some activists and protesters have actually tried to use them to film law enforcement, like I was saying, because going out is so risky yourself and because the ICE agents can turn around and harass you and put you on a database. Some of these activists have very smartly tried to use these very cheap consumer drones to actually document what ICE is doing. Also because sometimes ICE is doing these operations in ways where activists don't have a lot of visibility. It might be dangerous for them to get too close to the raid. So these drones are ways that activists could potentially surveil ICE and try to get some accountability. And now, of course, it's apparently banned. Meanwhile, the DHS, of course, is using drones all over. They've used drones to surveil protesters, including in Minneapolis recently. In 2020, a CPB Predator drone surveilled people protesting George Floyd's killing. And last year, the DHS also flew Predator drones over anti-ICE protests in Los Angeles. Those aircraft were detected using open source flight records. I want you guys to see what Predator drones look like because these things are crazy. They're these massive drones. It's not even a really good picture of one. I'm just trying to see if there's another good picture of these types of drones. They're massive drones, basically. These are not just like little drones. These are like military type drones. I'm going to Google Predator drone. So you can see. Yeah, here's what they look like. This is the type of stuff that they're flying over the protesters. So they can actually fly massive, sophisticated drones that can, surveil people at just unprecedented scale. They can surveil protests using these types of drones, but protesters can't record ICE agents on like a little mini, consumer drone device. It's crazy. So I just think it's so important for everybody to be really careful. And again, focus on protecting speech, free speech. Would charges survive a jury? Yeah, unfortunately they could, because again, just Kristi Noem and other people in the government are trying to criminalize any sort of accountability when it comes to ICE. So they're going to label you a domestic terrorist. They're going to label, just filming ICE as domestic terrorism. It's really bad. Oh, thank you for being here somebody said it's their first live streams. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions about this? Overall, I think it's really dangerous. I think we should be protecting the First Amendment, protecting people's right to film. I think it's just really terrifying to think that you can't even film and document stuff that's going on, and how quickly it's changed too, because just last year they were allowing people to film, but they were blocking that footage from getting up online, right? They were forcing the ICE app to be taken down. They were trying to get social media platforms to take down video footage of, ICE not activations, but ICE enforcement actions, et cetera. So they were trying to censor all of that content off the web, and now they're pre-censoring it by not even allowing you to record that footage to begin with. It's really scary. Oh, somebody said there were drones seen at the protests in Minneapolis today. Yeah, well, I was just reading a story that was up on screen that you might have seen, but yeah, the federal government has drones over Minneapolis, which is really scary and bad. And bleak. And I think it's just so important to not have surveillance laws, guys. Like, what's really scary too is, and just have to say this last thing is like, with this ICE facial recognition stuff, and their facial recognition app, like, this is why the government especially, and all of these evil corporations want our biometric data more than anything else. That's what they want. They really want our biometric data. They really want our face scans. What's the best way to get that? They can't just tell everybody, hey, we're going to start mass harvesting your face scans. Everybody's going to have to scan their face now, to use the internet. But that is what's going to happen. If they pass these dangerous laws like the Kids Online Safety Act, like the Screen Act, like the Keep Kids Off Social Media Act, any of these moral panic, anti-social media acts where they say, oh, they're not going to say, hey guys, everybody needs to scan their face so that ICE can have a nice little database that has all the information that we need. And we can take action against you if you film the wrong person, or you look at an ICE agent weird. They're not going to say that. What they're going to say is, guys, isn't social media destroying children? Isn't social media destroying the youth? Don't you think we should crack down on big tech by enacting these mass surveillance laws, by keeping kids off social media? How do you keep kids off social media? Well, you simply have to biometrically scan every single person's face and tie their, offline identity to their online behavior. Isn't that so convenient? That's literally what ICE and the government and the Department of Homeland Security is trying to do. But they're not going to tell people that. They're going to tell people it's all in the interest of keeping kids safe and, protecting children and child safety and, online safety and cracking down. So just stop falling for it. Please, everyone, stop falling for it. Stop listening to these people. Like, please just stop, this is why it's so crucial not to buy into these moral panics, because you literally, they are manufacturing consent for, not just mass censorship, but for harvesting huge amounts of data on people. We should be going the opposite. We should be looking at what's happening and saying, what are our lawmakers doing to preserve privacy in the age of ICE, in the age of, what's happening in the Department of Homeland Security? And what are the Democrats doing? They're actually advocating for more of these mass surveillance bills that mandate biometric data harvesting. It's really infuriating. Could you communicate this by having someone write a movie like Don't Look Up kind of thing? I have no idea, guys. I'm not a creative writer, so I'm certainly not going to write a movie. But I think that, fiction can also communicate ideas better than maybe nonfiction can. So maybe if anybody else in the chat is, a writer, they can write that. Also, Eric, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much. And Robe Life Music, thank you guys so much for your support. That makes such a difference. I have no advertisers. So seriously, thank you. Anyway, Yeah, so this just we don't want them building a database on citizens. We don't want them to have, we don't want a world where you have to scan your face just to use the internet. And that is how they are going to get your face. They're not going to get your face they might get your face if you're out in public and you're recording ICE or something, but they're going to get your face by these age verification laws, identity verification laws, by saying, "Oh guys, we have to ban the internet. We have to ban social media for under 14. Now we have to harvest everyone's biometric data." And isn't that so convenient? It's right when ICE and all these other people need the biometric data. And by the way, you're a domestic terrorist now if you watched a, Taylor Lorenz video. Like that's where we're going and we just need to fight against it. So bad. We need to be anti-surveillance.